Welcome in everyone, this is Sean with MTG808 Jr., and today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of ways to build pirates after the October 5th rotation. We've got a blue-red pirates list and a black-red pirates list that we're going to examine today. Before we jump into either of those lists though, just want to make sure that everyone is aware of our upcoming tournament calendar. Excuse me. So October 5th is rotation. That means Kaladesh, Aether Revolt, Amonkhet, and Hour of Devastation will be rotating out of Standard Pauper legality, and in its place, Guilds of Ravnica will be joining us. So that takes place on October 5th, the day that Guilds of Ravnica is released, and our first U Standard Pauper tournament after that will be October 13th. That will be at Miniq Mililani, and that will be hosted by Michael Ulip will be running that event. He is the advisor for the August Aaron's Magic Club. The next tournament, the next weekend after that, will be October 21st, and that will be over at Westside Comics and Games in Kapolei. I will be running that tournament, and of course, use Standard Pauper once again. And then the next tournament we have scheduled right now is for December 1st. That is our Youth Championship Scholarship Tournament to kind of culminate this first semester of Magic since school started. And, of course, we'll be giving away $500 to first place and $250 to second place, both in college scholarship. That will be December 1st over at Dirtle Zone in Aiea. We will be having more tournaments between October and December, so October, November, and culminating on December 1st, but we have yet to schedule those. But if you want to do well at our December 1st tournament, which will be the same format as all of these tournaments here after rotation, the next set does not come out until January or February, but you are in the right place to get a jump on the post-rotation Standard Pauper format. So here we have a build of blue-red pirates. We've done a video on this deck in the past, and it is not losing too much. Of course, you can find the link to that text description of the deck in the description of this video. But here is the visual representation of the deck, and basically this is just a glass cannon deck. It's trying to assemble an opportunity to kill your opponent with a big Buccaneers Bravado. 2 mana, instant, target creature gets +1/+1 and gains first strike until end of turn. But if you target a pirate, it gets +1/+1 and gains double strike until end of turn. All the creatures in the deck are pirates, so we're really trying to just set up a big turn where we can give a creature double strike and finish the opponent off in one big grandiose maneuver. So the deck is full of pirates. Unfortunately, the only 1-drop pirate in these colors is Fanatical Firebrand, which is a great pirate. 1 mana, 1/1 haste. You can tap and sack it to deal 1 damage to any target. Play this on turn 1, get in a couple points of damage, and then later maybe trade with a creature, shooting it, or you can always shoot your opponent in the face. Kitesail Corsair, one of the big incentives to be blue, to pair red with blue in this archetype. A 2 mana, 2/1 that has flying as long as it's attacking. So you can start putting down an evasive creature on turn 2 is a great way to start the game, start pressuring the opponent, whittling their life total down, and then of course since it has evasion, it's going to be a great target for Buccaneers Bravado. Same can be said here for Goblin Trailblazer. 2 mana, 2/1 menace. It's hard to block, which makes it a really great target for Buccaneers Bravado later in the game. To fill out, since we don't have too many other 1-drop pirates in this color pair, we are playing a couple more 2-drop pirates. Fathom Fleet Firebrand, 2 mana, 2/2. You can pay a red and a colorless to give it +1/+1 until end of turn. This deck, I guess in the late game when you run out of cards, you might want to use this guy's ability, but for the most part, the number of times that I've seen this ability come up, at least in previous Standard, has not been very many, but it is the next best pirate that we have as an option here. Continuing up the curve of creatures, Headstrong Brute is a 3 mana 3/3. Unfortunately, it cannot block, which is one of the reasons why this is a glass cannon deck. It does not play well on its back foot, but it does have menace as long as you control another pirate. So a 3-powered guy with menace for only 3 mana, exactly what this deck wants. You want hard to block creatures that you can chip away at your opponent and then eventually land a big Buccaneers Bravado on them. So Headstrong Brute we are playing 4 of. Siren Lookout, 3 mana 1/2 flyer. Not the best stats, but it does have Explore, so when it enters the battlefield, it explores, meaning you reveal the top card of your library. If it is a land, it just goes straight into your hand, so you essentially draw a card if it's a land. If it is not a land, you can choose to keep that card on top, or you can choose to put it in your graveyard. Either way, you get a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So, you know, maybe 2/3 of the time, this is going to be a 2/3. 1/3 of the time, it's going to be a 1/2 that draws you a land. But it does have flying, so again, it's another evasive creature that helps us set up a big Buccaneers Bravado. And then sitting here at the top of the curve, we have Deadeye Righauler, 4 mana, 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, if you attacked with a creature this turn, you may return target creature to its owner's hand. As I said, this deck does not play very well on its back foot, so being able to steal some tempo back by playing your 4-drop, right? You want to be racing them with your hard-to-block creatures. And then you slam your 4-drop down, bounce one of their creatures, and then you're completely fine blocking with this guy because it doesn't have evasion. So this just kind of helps make sure that we don't die. Alright, so that's our creature curve. Now, the rest of the spells in the deck, Shock, of course, is just great. The deck is short on 1 mana plays, so we just want to, like, pad the 1 mana plays to make sure we don't fall too far behind on tempo. You can kill a creature. Again, this deck is trying to go to the face, so being able to shoot them for 2 is very relevant as well. Of course, we're playing 4 Shocks. This is the spell that really goes well with Buccaneers Bravado. Run Amok, 2 mana, instant, target attacking creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. And then, so this gives 1 creature a huge bonus, and then if you cast Buccaneers Bravado on it as well, it gets double strike. So usually, you know, let's say you have your Fathom Fleet Firebrand and you are attacking them. You know, they block with their 2/2 thinking that they're going to get a good trade. And then let's say you have 4 mana open, you cast Run Amok. Boom. All of a sudden your 2/2 becomes a 5/5 with trample. Alright? And then you still have 2 mana open. Boom. Your 5/5 becomes a 6/6 trample double strike. Right? So all of a sudden they're losing their 2/2 that they thought they were trading with your 2/2, and they're taking 10 damage. So when I say this is a glass cannon deck, these 2 cards in combination with each other are the reason that it is a glass cannon deck. And then the last non-creature spell in the deck, or I guess the last spell in the deck really, is Pirate's Cutlass, 3 mana, equipment. When it enters the battlefield, you can attach it straight onto a pirate you control, and the equipped creature gets +2/+1. Again, every creature in the deck is a pirate. So you're basically going to pay 3 mana for it and immediately give one of your creatures +2/+1. And then later in the game, you can pay 2 to move it around and equip it to another creature. So, again, right, with Buccaneers Bravado, we want to make 1 creature really big and then give it double strike. Pirate's Cutlass helps us with that by just adding 2 extra power to whatever creature it's attached to. So let me paint a picture of this deck's God draw for you. Okay? And this isn't even the best draw. It's just, you know, a very good draw. So let's say, you know, the deck doesn't have too many 1 mana creatures, let's say, or 1 mana spells. Let's say you don't have one in your hand. You just play a land and you say go. Turn 2, you play your second land. You play either Kitesail Corsair or Goblin Trailblazer. It's up to you. You know, whichever one you just so happen to draw. Both of them are unlikely to be blocked when they attack on turn 3. So let's say you play one of those on turn 2. Your opponent is still at 20. Turn 3, you play Pirate's Cutlass. And because you have a pirate in play, it's going to attach straight to that pirate. So all of a sudden, your 2/1 is going to become a 4/2 with either menace or flying when it attacks. And you're going to hit your opponent from 20 down to 16. Boom. Alright, that's your turn 3. Now on your turn 4, you play your 4th land. And then you attack with your 4-power flyer. And they don't block. Right? They tapped out to play some silly creature. So you have a 4-power flyer. You can cast Run Amok on it. Now it's a 7-power flyer with trample. And then, you know, you still have 2 mana open. You cast Buccaneers Bravado. Boom, 2 more mana. Your 7-power flyer, right? 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. Plus the 1 from Buccaneers Bravado makes it an 8-power flying trample with double strike. Boom. You just dealt 16 damage to your opponent. They just so happen to be at 16 because you hit them for 4 last turn. You just killed them on the 4th turn. So when I say this is a glass cannon deck, that is, you the scenario that you're kind of playing towards. So if you like this kind of deck, this is about as close to a combo deck as you can get in the standard Pauper format. If that's your jam, then this might be the deck for you. Just quickly glancing over here at the sideboard, we have the Last Deadeye Rig Hauler. It is kind of at the top of our curve. I didn't want 4 in the main deck. We have it in the board if your opponent has a lot of 3 or 4 drops that are going to be good to bounce. Sailor of Means is in the sideboard because this deck does not play very well from behind. If you are in a position where it is going to be in your interest to block, then you want to bring Sailor of Means in. And then we have a bunch of protection. Glass Cannon decks are really, really bad when your opponent has a removal spell for, let's say you cast Run Amok and Buccaneer's Bravado on your creature. You think you're going to deal lethal damage, and then they tap 3 to murder your creature, right? Or they just lightning strike it in response to your Run Amok. That's when Dive Down is going to be your best friend. 1 mana, instant, target creature gets +0/+3, and gains hexproof until end of turn. Hexproof means that it cannot be targeted by your opponent's spells. If they have a murder on the stack targeting your creature and you cast Dive Down in response, that murder is going to get countered because it is no longer a legal target. So Dive Down is going to save you in those situations where you need to kind of move all in on your creature, and then you have to play into the removal spell. Dive Down will protect you from that. So if you're playing a removal heavy deck, Dive Down is going to be your best friend. Similarly, Negate and Spell Pierce can function in the same way, but they can also catch other non-creature spells as well, right? If you're playing against a control deck and then they're tapping out to kind of draw a bunch of cards in one turn, maybe they're casting their Soul Salvage or their Dark Bargain, you can just Negate or Spell Pierce it and just kneecap them on cards. The last couple cards here, Bombard is good if your opponent has, creatures with 4 toughness. This actually might be better as dual shot. Yeah, now that I think about it. I'm going to change that in the description before I post this. But dual shot should definitely be in the sideboard, especially because we don't have very many 1 mana spells, so we're going to play dual shot there. And then Active Treason. This deck is trying to race your opponent, right? You can remove a blocker and get in some extra damage with an Active Treason, maybe opening a window for your Run Amok or Buccaneer's Bravado to be lethal on them. So that is the Blue-Red Pirates deck. Looking here at the spoilers for Guilds of Ravnica. Again, the entire set is spoiled so far. I don't know. I think, if anything, this would be a sideboard card. One blue, 1 red, 1 colorless. Instant, tap target creature. Sonic Assault deals 2 damage to that creature's controller, and you can jumpstart it. Jumpstart means that if this spell is in your graveyard, you can pay the casting cost and discard a card to exile it and cast the spell again. So in this 1 card, you're essentially dealing 4 damage and tapping 2 creatures. When you have a Glass Cannon deck, their life total is very important, and the number of blockers that they have is very important. This spell seems up your alley, although I don't think you want too many of this effect, especially because it itself provides redundancy with the Jumpstart effect. Another card that might be of use in this deck is Maximize Altitude. It's a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn, and it also has the Jumpstart mechanic, meaning you can cast it from your graveyard by paying its casting cost, discarding a card, and exiling it from your graveyard. So, you could give 2 creatures flying, come in, hit them in the air. Maybe that'll be a good opportunity for your Buccaneer's Bravado. Who knows? But this card, this archetype used to play Cartouche of Knowledge. That card is rotating out, but I think this will be a decent replacement for that. And then, I don't know if this is going to be the deck for this card, but I just love this card. 1 blue, 1 red, 3 colorless, instant, draw 2 cards. Then you may discard a non-land card. When you do, Hypothesis will deals 4 damage to target creature. So, if anything, I think this would be a sideboard card in the deck, but it is the right color pair. If your opponent is trying to take the game long and is playing a bunch of creatures, especially creatures with 4 toughness, this card is going to be great. Although, in this particular archetype, this will probably just be a sideboard card, maybe 1 or 2 of in the sideboard. But I am very excited about this card. So that is the Blue-Red Pirates deck. it might be getting, you let me know what you think of the additions to the deck from Guilds of Ravnica. But I also want to quickly touch on Black-Red Pirates. I won't go in too much depth on this list because pretty much all the red cards are the same. So let's close this. Here's Black-Red Pirates. Okay, so the gist of the deck is the same. The advantage of playing black is that you get to lower your curve. We saw Jeffrey take this deck to the top 4 of our last scholarship tournament last May, playing a list very, very close to this. So, Grasping Scoundrel, 1 mana, Pirate, 1/1. When it attacks, it gets +1/+0, it gets +1/+0 as long as it is attacking. So, it's the right creature type that combos with Buccaneer's Bravado and Pirate's Cutlass, and it comes down on turn 1, might get in some early damage. It's a fine run-amok target, makes the curve of the deck a lot more reasonable. And then Fathom Fleet Boarder, 3 mana, 3/3. This one can block, so it's a little bit better than Headstrong Brute on defense. And when it enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life unless you control another pirate. Again, every other creature in the deck is a pirate, so that will probably never come up. So it's just a straight 3 mana, 3/3 with the right creature type. So those are the additions to the main deck that you get for playing black. You do sacrifice the Kitesail Corsair, you do sacrifice the Deadeye Rig Hauler, and the Siren's Lookout. But so we have to play more copies of Fathom Fleet Firebrand just to flesh out the 2-drop slot, but this guy is reasonable. And then, of course, we still have the mainstays, the Buccaneer's Bravado, the Pirates' Cutlasses, and the Run-Amoks to kind of just glass cannon our opponents out. So that's the main deck. I think the main appeal to black over blue is the options that it gives you in the sideboard. Duress is very, very strong. Being able to look at your opponent's hand and know if they have a removal spell before you go all in on your Run-Amok Buccaneers Bravado plan. Knowing if your opponent has a removal spell in their hand is very, very useful. And then also March of the Drowned. Because this is a glass cannon deck, we're playing a lot of 1 toughness creatures. Your opponent could very well just kill all your creatures and then strand you with all these useless pump spells in your hand. March of the Drowned is the most efficient raise dead effect in the format, as long as you're playing pirates. So it's a 1 mana sorcery, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or return 2 target pirate cards from your graveyard to your hand. Once again, every creature in the deck is a pirate, so pretty much all the time this is going to be a 1 mana sorcery, get 2 pirates from your graveyard and put them into your hand. It's going to be great against the decks that their game plan is to just kill all of your pirates. We've got Skullduggery in the board here. It's kind of like a dual shot impersonation, so if you're playing against a deck with a bunch of 1 toughness creatures, these cards are going to be great. Deadeye Tormentor, it's a 3 mana 2/2, so slightly smaller than the pirates that we're main decking. It is a pirate, and it says raid. When it enters the battlefield, if you attacked with a creature this turn, target opponent discards a card. So once again, if you're planning on playing against a bunch of control decks, black gives you a bunch of nice options to kind of play the long game and check to see if the coast is clear. And then, of course, we already talked about Active Treason. It's great in this deck. So these are the options of how to build black-red pirates. Unfortunately, the black version of the deck does not get very many goodies from Guilds of Ravnica. Pirates, unfortunately, do not exist on Ravnica as far as I know. But the black cards that we are going to be seeing from Guilds of Ravnica don't necessarily fit into this creature type. But if you take a look at the spoilers and you disagree with me, definitely let me know. I would love to hear it. There might be some interesting tools that I overlooked. Barrier of Bones might be decent in the sideboard against the aggro decks, but other than that, yeah, I don't really see too much. So, thank you for stopping by. I hope that you enjoyed these decks. If you, like living the life of the pirate, high risk, high reward, these glass cannon decks, it just might be for you. So, hit that like button if you enjoyed this content. If you want to see more Standard Pauper updates, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell if you want to get all of them. And then, of course, if you want to support this channel further, or if you want to support youth magic here on Oahu, please consider becoming a patron subscriber. You can choose how much you donate each month, and all of the proceeds from Patreon go to supporting the tournaments that we run, especially these scholarship tournaments. We would not be able to run these scholarship tournaments without support from our amazing patrons. All right, so thank you for stopping by, and I will catch you later. Peace.